Hi, good afternoon. This is Anna Crowe with the Get Real podcast, where CEOs, CMOs, and communications leaders share their real advice. It's 6 questions under 9 minutes because we get to it real fast. So let's get to it. I'm really excited to introduce our guest today. In a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
Thanks, Anna. I'm Kevin Kramer. I'm the founder and CEO of US Cryotherapy. We have 25 retail wellness centers across the country, and we treat people for, better recoveries, faster recoveries, better health, post-surgically, chronic pain, acute pain, you name it. We have a number of modalities that can really help them stimulate faster recoveries.
Wonderful. I've been hearing a lot about cryotherapy. Can you tell me what is the best thing about being a leader in your industry?
Yeah, well, it's an emerging nascent industry. We actually founded the space in the United States in 2011. So I think I'm probably certainly classified as one of the leaders, if not, the grandfather. Leading the way in terms of creating whole body health and awareness is really important, right? This is an alternative healthcare modality that can help people in ways. We can reduce inflammation, we can reduce pain, we can reduce the need and use for opioids, but it's still on a very slow trajectory as far as the educational curve. Mm-hmm. So I take great pleasure in helping try to educate nationally of the benefits in terms of what we can provide when a person walks through the door, what to expect and what we can do for them in terms of outcomes.
That's fantastic, and I'm sure you've seen it evolve quite a bit since you started 9 years ago now with this business. I'm sure it has evolved. Would that be correct?
Oh yeah. I mean, we started with one center. People had no idea what we were doing. It emerged in Europe, and there are indications for rheumatoid arthritis and fibromyalgia and inflammatory skin conditions, and it's approved mostly in the hospital clinics. We found it there and brought it to the United States, but it took a good 2.5 years before people really understood, because intuitively it doesn't make a lot of sense to really go into a hyper cold environment and expose your body to extreme temperatures. But the awareness over time has grown, and there's competitors in the space now. So there's hundreds and hundreds of centers around the country.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool for you to be an innovator in the space. I hear from other successful leaders and executives that creating authentic connections, whether it's with your customers or with your team members, can be tough with all the noise today. What's your take on that?
Well, I think it's absolutely essential for small businesses, probably any business in general, that you create that authentic connection. In fact, I was a speaker on an international conference and talking about how we were going to rebound from COVID. I positioned it as such that we already have very good connections with our customers because they come in looking for improved healthcare status, right? So they want to get rid of pain. They want to get more out of their day. They want more energy or mood. And so we focus on, in the US Cryotherapy system, on the delivery of great customer service. We know all of our customers. We know what they're struggling with. We make recommendations in terms of the treatments that they want to utilize. And so we're already very strong in that area. The difficulty is creating an authentic connection with a unique new customer, right? Because they might not know exactly what you do. So I think that's the challenge, is the educational piece. If we get somebody that walks through our doors at US Cryotherapy, we immediately have a platform, at least, for an authentic relationship. And I think that's hugely important for long-term user loyalty as well as growth.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with you there. And you're right, it's part of that education piece, because you want to educate and show that authenticity of the brand of what you guys offer. So, but that's great feedback. What other real advice would you give to other leaders? Anything else that you think is important?
Yeah, well, it's changed because of the environment that we're in, right? So I think that, you have to really take a very close look at your pre-COVID operation and where we are coming out of this. And it's forced us all to operationally change. And so you need to evaluate that very carefully. And, most people are going to be extremely concerned about where you're going to, apply your resources and where you're going to look for new growth strategies and operationally how you're going to change. So just taking a really deep dive into the business, I think, is extremely important. We have a lot of key metrics that we're fortunate to be able to look at in terms of new customer traffic and engagement in terms of conversion rates of a new customer to a longer term user, and then long-term loyalty use, frequency of use, and things like that. So if there are metrics within your business and you're not real strong in that area, I'd suggest really, diving in as deeply as you can and completely understanding all the nuances operationally, in terms of then allowing you, we were talking about this before the podcast, but how are you going to budget for the next year? What are you going to focus on, right? Is your challenge getting people back through the doors, or is it getting new customers to grow your business?
Absolutely. And that's great advice. I mean, it goes back to the numbers and the data, and it's more critical now than ever when there's not just this influx of new business across the world for all organizations. So it's great to really understand your financials, your P&L, your data, and read that. So I love that advice. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem.
Wonderful. Well, before we get to our more fun question, what other high-level executives such as yourself would you want to give a shout out to or recommend being on this podcast?
Oh, I mean, within my industry, there are, quite a few individuals. I don't know that I have any one in particular. I mean, if we're talking, senior level people, I really like, some of the entrepreneurial people in our country that have built small businesses from the ground up. I'm a huge Shark Tank fan, so I like Mark Cuban and the gang there. But within our industry, there's Jen Donnelly at Restore, who's probably one that I'd recommend. There's our manufacturing partners, Crowe built. Marcus Wilson is the CEO there. He's one that would be an interesting candidate to speak with, just about the manufacturing side. Those would be two that I'd recognize in the industry right now that might be applicable.
Great. They sound amazing. Thank you. And now for our final question number 6. Tell us about your first job.
My first job. It's kind of a hybrid, actually. I came out of I'm a University of Notre Dame graduate, and I had a graphic design and communications degree. And frankly, when I graduated, I had absolutely no idea what I was going to do with that. So I started a small advertising business and did a lot of logo and brochure work on my own while I played a little golf competitively for a period of time. But my first real job was in sales, and that led the way for me then going into the pharmaceutical industry and progressing throughout roles throughout that industry. But I sold copiers for about 9 months, and just to really understand hardcore sales environment, I worked for Pitney Bowes, and we had a line of copiers, and my role was in Sacramento. And so I certainly learned how to hit the street and how to work hard for, closing sales.
Very cool. Well, you have a very diverse background, even threw in some professional golf in there. I love it.
Not quite professional, but I was very close. Very
close enough. Excellent. Yep. Well, how can people get a hold of you, Kevin?
Well, the first thing I'd always tell them to do is go to our website. It's www.uskryotherapy.com. And there you can find out everything about our business and all the locations. And then there's a corporate listing there. But if you ever want to email me, it's at Kramer. So it's KKRAMER @uskryotherapy.com.
Wonderful. Well, fantastic. Thanks everyone for tuning in today. As you know, this is Anna Crowe with the Get Real podcast. For more insights, can't talk today, visit us at crowepr.com. Thanks so much and make it a great day.